Hey, everybody, welcome back to episode 3 of the Developing Tank podcast, joined by my good friends Hashem and Alex. Guys, welcome back.
Hello, thanks for having us.
Hey, man.
It's good to be back. The three of us back together again. Three musketeers ready to talk all things photography and film photography, more specific. So today, what we decided, the topic for today's video, guys, is podcast, I should say, too used to doing YouTube. We are mainly talking about consistency and staying consistent and enjoyment within your photography, how to find both, how to find that equal medium, how to stay consistent style, but also how to enjoy yourself and, not get too bogged down with worrying about everything we worry about. Am I good enough? Is my camera good enough? Is the content I'm shooting good enough? Does anybody even care about what I'm shooting about? Things like that, things you can work on, from the three of us. Everyone will be chiming in to, give our 2 cents. And as per your viewer requests, I'm going to stop interrupting everyone today and shut my mouth a lot more today. If I can, I'll try. But again, I'm a chatterbox and it is a podcast, but I'll try my best. So I'm going to pass it off to one of the boys. Who wants to go first and get this topic rolling on consistency and enjoyment and motivation?
Yeah. I struggle with consistency, so this will be a therapy session for me.
Well, that's good.
I was on the train. I was just on the train to 2 days ago, or this past weekend, right? With my friend Will, who is in Fukuoka SPC with me. And we were on the train going to a print shop where we're getting a bunch of our photos printed out for our next exhibition here in Fukuoka, Japan. And, I had my camera on me. I was thinking, after we go to the print shop and check out the prints and then this and that, I'll go out and shoot because I'm already out, So I always try to combine when I'm going out for doing anything with street photography if the opportunity arises. As a father, as a married man, I have to take those chances, those days, and just like carpe diem about the day a bit. You know what I mean? But my friend Will was like, "Oh no, I didn't bring my camera. I don't really feel like it so much," and that was kind of surprising for me. And he was like, "Yeah, these days I'm not so motivated. I don't have a spark right now," and yeah, that was a little bit of a thing to think about. Like, how can he get a spark? How can he become motivated and stuff? And he shoots digitally, mostly with digital camera. And I actually sold him a film camera a while ago. And I was saying, how about you use your film camera that you never use? And, that will kind of like break things up a bit, like change the medium up a bit and change the level of importance or the criticalness of you nailing a shot or what you're trying to go for, what you're trying to look for. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So that's kind of one of the things. It's like, if you're finding a lack of motivation or enjoyment, maybe just like switch up the medium. Even when I'm shooting film, and I'm shooting film a lot, and I kind of get wrapped up in like my shots have to be perfect for me to click the shutter. And sometimes I get wrapped up in that. And then I'll go and shoot digital, and that'll kind of break me out of that mold, of that train of thought. And then I can go back to film and I can shoot a little bit more freely and not worry so much that I'm wasting film.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of balance that I found. What about you guys? How do you kind of break the mold?
Well, I don't know. Maybe should we split things up and maybe define our terms, because we chose to tackle 2 things, one of which was consistency. And I'm assuming what we mean by this, or at least most people's perception, is having a consistent style in your photography. And then maybe we can separate the enjoyment thing just to kind of tackle one aspect at a time.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
That sounds good.
Because like what I struggle with most is not so much getting motivated and enjoying the process. It's having consistency across all of my work, in the sense that, you look at, I do some landscape stuff, I do some street photography, and then I suddenly feel like doing, and if you look at my Instagram, just as a weird example, it's kind of all over the place, whereas some people seem to really have a consistent look to their photographs. Should we dive into that first? Maybe Cooper, because you've been doing this series lately. How do you approach that?
I always worry about consistency because I feel like, especially in the world of film photography, like is being consistent just shooting. I always, say to myself, is being consistent just shooting the one film stock? You know what I mean? Like I love to shoot a lot of black and white. Like I shoot, tons. Like I just got 2 bricks of FP4, real cheap as well, which was great. You know what I mean? I love shooting black and white so much. But majority of the photos that I post on Instagram are color, because I kind of go, well, if I'm trying to go for a theme, do I need to be shooting color film and posting color photos all the time instead of chopping it up? But then I have this dilemma because I love black and white film so much, especially 35 millimeter black and white film. And I've just got, hundreds, thousands of photos just that, I've shot, scanned. I'm never going to post them. But I can't give up shooting that. It's really hard. But then this series that I've started, I ran into a bit of trouble with it because the second road trip I did just recently, the other week, I actually took a Hasselblad with me, so square format instead of 6:7. And I did run into that kind of, well, I'm worried that, am I going to, to have like that cohesive series, do I, should have everything has been on 6:7, which is hence why I've got the GF 670 back, you know what I mean? Because I think the 6:7 format suits what I'm doing better as opposed to square. But I shot some amazing photos on the Hasselblad, and they're all square. And now I'm like, do I have to crop them all to that 4:5 aspect ratio to make it work with the project? Or, you know what I mean? So like when I look at the consistency part, it really comes down to me, does it mean shooting with one camera or, one format, so one aspect ratio? But again, you suppose you can always crop. Or does it come down to picking the focal length to make it consistent? You know what I mean? Like with the RZ I had, that the first couple, that big trip was on, everything shot on the 110, which is 55 equivalent, So an 80 mil on a 6x6, you could crop, that would make it consistent. Whereas the GF has that 80 mil fixed lens, which works out to be like a 45 or 43 millimeter on 35, and so close enough. But does it mean, you know what I mean, to because you see a lot of people with really well curated Instagram galleries, I find everything's usually shot on one of 2 cameras, generally, I find. So they're either shooting everything on 6x6, and I love coming across someone's Instagram page where all they shoot is square. I love the commitment. I couldn't do it, but I love seeing someone's page. I came across a girl's page last night in the States, and it's just everything was shot on a Rolly or a Yashica, one of the two, but every single film scan was done with the film borders included. And you know what I mean? So every photo looks exactly the same. You can see the film border frame, you can see Kodak Portra or Kodak Gold, but it's all square, all scanned like that. And as far as consistently, it looks amazing. But I just kind of go, do you need to commit to that to have that? Or, can you, I'm always in a constant dilemma. I can never make my mind up. You know what I mean? Is it all, for a while there, I would post just square images, always just square images on Instagram. And then I'd, now obviously everyone's posting mostly vertical images. I find it like a very tricky dilemma. You know what I mean? Like I just can't decide sometimes. But I think that if you want to make a consistent body of work, you should be sticking to one camera, if it's 4x5, 8x10, 6x7, and not too drastic focal lengths. You know what I mean? Nothing too wide, nothing too telly. You know what I mean? Pick something close. So shoot everything with a 35 and a 50, or a 50 and an 85 on that format for making something cohesive. And I think that would makes things less jarring when people view all the work as a whole. Like everything seems pretty consistent.
Yeah. I think 35 and 28 or something close to each other.
Yeah, yeah, something like
Even
that.
like
yeah.
a square and a 6/7 is not too far apart either. So I kind of get where you're at, but then they're different enough to where it's like, yeah, maybe you should crop your squares or shoot to crop.
That's what I had in mind. I was like, I'll ideally probably gonna some of those square photos that I've taken. Like one of them's really cool. It's I don't even want to put it. There's I came across someone's farm, and you've got donkeys, and the guy had ostriches and camels next to sheep and donkeys and cows, and I'm like, what the hell is an ostrich doing in the Australian outback? Like what? So of the photo I got, it's framed perfectly. The donkey's in the bottom left hand side of the frame, and the donkey's turned its head all the way around to look at the ostrich, which is walking past in the top right hand corner of the frame. And it looks awesome, but it looks awesome as a square. But if I crop it, it doesn't have the same feeling. But it's like I have to crop it to include it in that project, and I don't know. But I think different strokes for different things. Like the other project we were talking about that just before the terminal sleepers I'm doing at work, shooting all the FIFOs sleeping. That's all black and white, M6, FP4, the whole thing. I just feel like that's what suits. Part of the reason is because the M is so quiet. I can get really close to these guys while they're sleeping and take photos of them up close, and you know what I mean. That super quiet shutter. But I feel like it's 3:30 in the morning. Grainy black and white definitely suits that project. You know what I mean. So that won't be a color thing, and that's a choice made for that project to keep it consistent. But it's really hard. I think you've got to when you start a new project or body work or whatever, I think you maybe need to play around when you start. You need to go, is this going to work as 35? Is it going to work as black and white? Is it going to work as color? And then once you've done that initial, figured it out, I suppose then you can commit. Sorry about
committing
that
is what the
banging, guys. That's my neighbor. I don't know what he's doing with a shovel, but anyway. Sorry about that.
I find that when it comes to the consistency, like you were saying, you gotta figure out what you want to do ahead of time, and I think not bring too much gear to where you want to go shoot. Kind of settle on this is the camera. This is the camera. This is the lens or two max.
Well, I'm fighting it now because of you. Because I watched an old video of yours about your street portraits. And now I'm like, maybe I'm going to pick up a Fuji GS645. Guy's got one for sale local here. I know Alex has got one. Alex takes great street portraits and stuff with that camera. But I'm like, not another camera. I just want to focus on projects with the single camera I've got, but I can't help myself with the gas sometimes.
Yeah. I know. Don't worry about that GS645S. I have a feeling, to be honest, that thing's going to break. So I can't really recommend that camera too much. Yeah, it's a little bit plasticky. It's a little bit concerning. Actually, like a piece of mine kind of separated, and I'm basically holding it together with some tape right now, and
nice.
to keep it from separating or breaking further. It still works fine. It's kind of a fantastic-y, plasticky kind of situation.
Well, maybe I'm going to take that under consideration. And
don't buy another camera.
No,
I'm the worst person to like.
I've kind of settled
example, to like not buy a camera,
with the project. With that now, just that the GF that I've picked up, the 670, it gives me that option to shoot square if I really want to as well because it's multi-format. But it's super. It's like like run and gun. Like the light meter is super accurate. It's got it's got electronic features, but it's amazing lens. I'm not doing the only portraits I'm doing with it would be environmental portraits. So an 80mm with a 3.5 f-stop on a 6.7 is more than adequate. But it just lets me be flexible enough. Plus, the camera's got that little bit of quirkiness with the bellows that it gets people asking about it. So you get that, what kind of camera is that? So then it can spark up a bit more conversation as well. So that's
you're serious about it. You're not.
I'm very serious. No.
That's
and this is kind of. Whereas, I actually managed to track down a bunch of expired Lomo 400 120 as well over the weekend. Some girl was selling. So essentially, I got a bunch of it for $5 a roll. It's
No way.
it's 10 years old, but kept in a cupboard. So I mean, it's Lomo 400. I was going to shoot it
it's
at
fine.
160. And
So
yeah, so
just
10 years,
overexpose it.
shoot it at 160. It should be fine. Yeah, the only thing that worries me
Yeah.
about lomography is I saw someone else's video on YouTube. I was watching, the deep dive, and you know how sometimes with the Lomo 120s, it just doesn't spool onto the take-up spool properly and you get all the light leaks. I've had it happen with Lomo 800 years ago.
Fat rolls. Yeah.
Yes, the fat
I've had
rolls.
like
You just gotta be,
3 times that's happened to me.
Yeah.
Fat rolls.
paper
With,
backing
with-
also
only with
causes
Lomo
problems.
films.
only with Lomo.
Yeah.
So that's why I worry. I'm like, can you
Yeah.
trust Lomo to shoot a serious project on?
Plus 10 years in a Perth cupboard, Perth gets pretty hot, so you never know, man.
Well,
Try roll
I've got a
first,
couple.
don't
Yeah,
shoot
I've got a couple rolls to develop, and I picked up some of that X Slide 200 off this girl as well. I've never shot it before, but again, I wouldn't do anything serious with
Oh.
that. That's like
Crossbird?
no, it's called X Pro Slide X Pro Loma. It's a weird looking film. And I tried to
think I
find
remember that.
much. It's weird. I don't know. I think it's one of those. It's like I'll muck around and see what
Yeah, it's kind of
happens.
vintage looking, like yellowish.
Yeah, but definitely like I'm just going to honestly, as expensive and annoying as it is, Kodak Portra just is, I want everything to look consistent. I've shot the majority of things on Kodak Portra in years past for this project
suck,
as
yeah.
well. So it's, it's just like suck it up and pay full price. They pay $30 for whatever it is, 27 or
It's so
28
high
for a
now.
120. Oh man.
I
Drives
can't
me
commit to
nuts.
Portra, man. I can't do that.
I've abandoned Portra.
Yeah.
Unless
I'm
there's a
not-
client
I've
job or
got
someone
I've got
paying
a
for it.
bunch of Kodak Gold in the fridge, which is great. But
I've got that.
um,
Yeah.
I shot
Yeah.
a bunch of
Oh my
the,
God.
the most
I
recent
have so
road
much
trip.
gold.
I shot gold, and they're just not the same. It just some of the photos it just doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't have. There is a difference, like a noticeable to me anyway.
There is.
There's a noticeable
little
difference
bit,
with the
you know,
Kodak
more
Gold and
dynamic
Portra.
range in the Portra.
So
Mm.
Yeah.
I find them
yeah,
close enough considering the price.
I mean, if money was no object, I would just shoot.
Yeah.
I've said it before. I would shoot Portra 800 all day, every day, nonstop. That's the
Then you
magic, the
probably want to
golden
shoot it
ticket.
at like 400 or 200 anyway.
Yeah, I'd be shooting it at 400. You know what I mean? Because we're like
Yeah.
same as all the
So-
same as all the Portra 400. I shoot at 200 anyway.
Yeah.
Just that little bit.
I would have
extra
loved
exposure.
to stay consistent about shooting Fuji Pro 400H because that was my favorite film. I had just shot like my first 1 or 2 rolls of that, and then I was like, "This is it. That's it. I'm just buying this stuff." And the price was not bad, at the time. And I was like, "This is it. I'm just gonna buy a bunch of this, and this is all I'm gonna shoot." And then, literally, like that month or the next month, discontinued. I was like, just destroyed.
Even
and then I made a YouTube
160
video. using that
160
film.
NS
That
was
it.
was magic. I used to love
was
shooting
good, yeah.
160. That was epic.
Yeah, I have some of
But
that.
if we're
too, still.
lucky, I mean, we've gone off on a tangent already, but that's the joy of podcasts is tangents, isn't it? With Fuji reproducing C200 and Superior, like actual, not Kodak rebranded, that's coming back soon, isn't it? I saw there was their press
it?
conference in China. Yeah, there was Fuji did a press conference in China, and they're manufacturing it in China. I think Alex, you'd know more than me, being
the original
more than
recipe?
us. The original, yeah, because I know how
It's-
much you like C200 hash.
Yeah. And Superior.
That's it.
And
Yeah.
Fuji 400H. And I love Fuji
Everything's
film in
Fuji.
general.
Yeah, me too. But I think that's really kind of to be confirmed
TBA.
because
Yeah.
it seems like what that operation could be that was announced that we had photos from, it could be a very fancy repackaging situation.
That's what I thought they were limited to, was repackaging and finishing, not actually making emulsion, like coating.
Maybe it is.
And it seems from the photos like they weren't showing like huge like emulsion manufacturing and like
We'll see.
all the equipment. They were showing packaging and a packaging operation basically.
I wouldn't even care if
So-
Fuji gave their recipe to someone else like Kodak or Novascope to make the original stuff and have it finished in China. If the quality's good, I don't care.
Yeah.
Really, whether it's made in Japan or not. I mean, that would be
go for
preferable,
it.
but
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you can have consistency through a series by choice of film stock and focal length and camera and all that. But then it's also like if you step out to the on a macro scale, consistency across everything you do. I don't find it too hard to be consistent within a series, like my black and white 35mm stuff. Mostly just shoot HB5 or Kentmere 400. But it's kind of like you said, Cooper, where it's tempting to always stray outside of that. Or go, well, is this the right thing to be doing right now? Is this me? Is this my style? Like, should I have gone with square? It's a bit of a struggle. Whereas some people seem to find it easy. Like you said, the girl shooting all squares, and I don't know how they do that.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And crops, and I like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, we've all seen it. Like sometimes you just, you might have that goat camera or whatever it is. Like there's some of those big Instagram pages, and like it's just all Mamiya 7. You know what I mean? Someone's got a Mamiya 7. That's just everything shot on a Mamiya 7 with Portra, and it's all outdoor landscapey stuff, and it all looks amazing. I just find that I like shooting too many different things. I love shooting street photography. I love it, but then I also love shooting this contemporary style of work that I'm doing now. Yeah, and then I do love the surf stuff. It's just I find that my problem with, the years of shooting surf photography is that it's always been the same problem. Whenever it's that good, I'm out there getting waves. I go surf first, and then I go and, swim out with the camera afterwards. But I've just kind of not had enough of that. I just feel like I've moved on to a new chapter in my, with what I'd like to shoot now.
Yeah, you've
and my wife keeps saying, no, the surf stuff's great. Keep going. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I just feel like as lame as this might sound, as an artist, you know what I mean? Like my what I want to shoot is changed. Like I've just sort of, really been inspired by a lot of other people. I want to move to more of that contemporary style of photography. And then more documentary style work, which is why this like Home in the Blackwood series is kind of, like a landscapey, they're pretty, some of them are very pretty pictures, but then I'm also trying to document as well. And then the street, what's it called? Sorry, terminal sleepers, the FIFO workers, that's more of a documentary thing to try and kind of, as well as make some cool pictures in a unique environment in an airport, because I'm there all the time, and unique kind of topic. Also raise awareness for the fact that, how hard these FIFO guys work. They're all sleeping on the floors of the airports in between flying up to site because, they've come in from across the state, across the country to, because the resources, Alex, here in WA is huge. The resource sector in WA is massive. We produce most of the country's mineral exports here. Anyway, but it's just like, another kind of little documentary project, but it's also not a super serious one, but I feel like it's good practice for whatever comes next. You know what I mean? To start these little documentary style photo projects and it's definitely, going to help with the larger project I'm working on, being able and I get funny looks, and I think little things like, the guy was staring at me this morning, and I just went straight up to him. I was like, "Hey mate, how you going?" I was like, "This is, and I essentially explained, this is what I'm doing. Like, you guys, I see you every week, and like I am trying to, document it, and raise awareness because you guys work so hard." And he was like, "Oh yeah, cool." Just sort of that kind of prompt you to have more social interactions, not be sly. You know what I mean about the work? Like, because you know what I mean? People see a camera these days and they're like, what is that dodgy person doing with the camera? What are they doing with the camera? It definitely makes it, you know what I mean? Like, I suppose working on those like kind of little personal relationships you can make with people while you're shooting, if you get me. But yeah, yeah, I suppose. But it's funny, isn't it?
I think I have you breaking up, Coop.
Yeah, I think you're disappearing a little bit.
You're coming in and out, man. Not the same.
Sorry, guys, I'm back.
Yeah.
Yo.
No, sorry, internet. I lost my internet. Don't ask me what happened there. But
damn.
I thought so.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry about that, everybody.
Yeah.
hopefully, yeah. Sorry to cut the interruption. Did you guys
No,
just
it was actually
continue?
starting to break up for like a good minute or something.
Okay, I might
Yeah.
have to. I can go back and just do a quick technical glitch and cut some of that out.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you on
sorry about
NBN,
that,
dude,
everyone.
or
Sorry,
are you on NBN over there in Perth, or you're on like ADSL?
no, NBN should be. Yeah,
Okay.
NBN. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
I
weird.
think because
That's
we
never
were just
happened
saying
before.
yours is hosting, so maybe it needs like as much bandwidth as possible because it's like taking an hour connections. But now that you're
Yeah.
back, you look a little bit clearer.
Oh, okay.
But spoke
I
too
think.
soon.
Yeah, maybe spoke too soon.
Fuzzy.
um,
Anyway.
yeah, but
Yeah, that was a good point that you touched on, though, because it kind of, I think, tied the whole thing together and like brought it full circle, at least in terms of the theory I have when going into this conversation about you weren't enjoying the surf stuff as much anymore, but then you started to find more enjoyment in something else. And that, for me, it tells me that you need the enjoyment to fuel the consistency. So if you have enjoyment in what you're shooting and a desire to engage with that subject, then that makes it much easier to consistently go and keep shooting that thing, because that's exactly how I feel about my bread and butter of street photography, right? When I'm out there in that flow state that we spoke about last time, I'm just itching for the next roll, the next session to keep going back. And I don't care that it's the exact same film stock or the same place necessarily or the same type of photo, because I'm enjoying it. So I think for anyone listening, that's a good way to approach it, is allow the enjoyment to then fuel that consistency. But if you're being consistent for the sake of it, because I want my Instagram to look the same, I don't know if that's a good enough reason.
I don't think that's a good enough reason, to be honest.
Yeah. Like a photo book, yeah, I get it.
But yeah. I think again, well, I mean, we can say it till we're blue in the face, but like people trying to chase Instagram clout is not going to give you enjoyment. And you know what I mean? I don't think in the long run that gives any enjoyment in the long run. That's why I think recently I've actually taken a leaf out of your book, Hash. I mean, I've posted more photos in the last month than I have in the course of a year. I've just kind of gone, you know what? I don't care about curating the best possible Instagram feed I can.
Yeah.
I'm all about trying to find, you know what I mean? Just I'm trying to find more enjoyment now. You know what I mean? Like sharing these photos, sharing whatever I can. I don't care anymore. I'll post hundreds of photos if I have to every single day. I don't care. I've lost that that sort of need to be like, oh, I've got to have the most perfect thing ever. Sorry guys, I have to take a quick 2-minute break. We're going to pause the podcast here and we'll be back in a second. Thanks, guys. We took a little short break and we are now back talking about consistency and style. And Hashem was just touching on, and myself talking about, you know, finding that enjoyment. And like I was just saying, talking about posting more photos on Instagram and just kind of not needing to have that perfect curated feed and having more fun with it, having more enjoyment, you know what I mean? Just posting my photos and not caring that these algorithms, and they do suck, and guys, it just sucks, but you just got to learn to deal with it. I have, 3,500 followers, and the most likes I'm getting on a photo is like 150. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. And I just kind of go, well, I bet everyone's in the same boat. And as I always bring it back, everyone listening out there, do not let the amount of likes of a photo influence you in how you like that photo. If you love that photo and you think it's a good photo, great, perfect, love it, post it, print it, make sure you print it, just like those up there, and don't let the numbers get you down. And then I think while we're talking about, it might be a good way to segue into enjoyment, is I feel like these social media apps and some of these algorithms are killing the enjoyment for people, because people are maybe just going, well, what's the point? What's the point of posting? You know what I mean? They might, you know, like you were just talking about earlier, Alex, your friend who shoots digital and you gave him a film camera and he's like, oh, I'm just not motivated. I'm not motivated. It's, you know, that I know some people, especially the younger people. I mean, we're all a bit older, so we've got a bit more of, you know, a laissez-faire attitude. Like we all grew up with, more so me and Hashim. It was Messenger, the Messenger app after school. That was the extent of social media as a young kid. That's all we got. Whereas now everyone's getting blasted with, more people are taking more photos than ever before. And I think it's really easy for these younger people to keep comparing themselves to people with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of followers, and they, they might be posting, the most amazing photos from the most amazing locations, you know what I mean? And then you kind of go, well, I've got nothing to shoot. What have I got to shoot? You know what I mean? But I will say this, when people can talk about, I've got nothing to shoot. If Matt Day can make it work in small town Ohio and, still make good bodies of work, grow a massive Instagram, social media following and everything, then you can too, if you want to commit to it, and you can make those sorts of great images. Like I've always thought, if Matt, he can pull off what he's pulled off in, like he always says, small town Ohio, it's doable anywhere. You know what I mean? You've just got to develop, I don't know, find a style, find what you like to shoot, have enjoyment with it, and let the chips fall where they may, or let it roll.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good example, actually. I think with him also, it's a good example of the passion being there. And I think that you just touched on enjoyment again. That has to be there, whether you're in a tiny town in Chillicothe or whatever. That can drive so much in terms of output.
Definitely. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And then sometimes I think about you, Alex, the last couple of weeks, and I go, man, I'd love to be in
thanks
Japan,
for thinking about me.
I'd love to be like, in Japan, especially, when you went and shot that that festival you were telling me about, where they all get into street fights with each other or whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
fist fights.
Like, whoa! I'm like, just I feel like that because we don't have that kind of historic culture in Australia. The country's only a couple hundred years old, whereas Japan has an extremely rich history and things like that.
Long.
And sometimes you go, oh well, but then again, I just kind of go like, with this project, this Blackwood project I'm shooting, and I'm really excited and hyped up about. I'm like, well, this is my version of the American road trip, the American West. This is like I've romanticized that for years, but like what I'm shooting is essentially, I kind of tell myself that's my version here in my backyard. That's what I can shoot here. You know what I mean? I found something here. I don't need to travel, get on a plane and go to the next whatever location. Like I've got that here. Just like Hash, you've got the busy Melbourne streets, which sometimes I wish I had. Every time that I've come over to Melbourne, and when the times me and you have gone to shoot together, I mean, I love it being out on the street there. There's just so many more
find
people.
Your own version. Yeah. Someone could romanticize New York and be like, well, I'm in Melbourne. Let's make the most out of that. Create your own version or find your version.
Yeah, I think people maybe struggle to do that these days. They struggle to go, well, it's just, and it's the same with gear and gas. The next best camera, or the next best thing. What's going to make it better for me is buying the latest X100 And if I've got a 5 or a 4, I need that to keep me motivated. I need that to make my work get better. You know what I mean? It's like I've said before, I think every single digital camera made from 2017 onwards is more than anyone's ever going to need.
They're all like
my views from 2017 onwards. There's not a crap camera that's been made. They'll do everything you need to do. But when people chase, it's the same. I want to be overseas. I want to be some magic location, thinking that that's going to make my work better. And yes, it probably will give you enjoyment. You know what I mean? You're hitting that new spot. It's going to be fun. You're going to have a good time. You're going to make new images. But I feel like if you can't enjoy what you've got, you're going to be detrimental. It's going to be detrimental to you in the long run.
Yep. Yeah. it's a big part of it, isn't it? I remember when I was out with Alex on the streets of Tokyo, I think we share this feeling as street photographers that the gear just at a certain point just disappears. The thoughts
Right.
about what is and what could be, it all just disappears for the moment, because you're out there on the street and you're observing life and you're just locked in, finding subjects, and then you start interacting with it, and you're not from behind the fence, so to speak. You're actually in there. You're getting up close, or just zoned in, or maybe even talking to people, finding those shots, and then acknowledging life happening right in front of you, getting those shots, and then that's all it's about. You just forget about the camera so much, and then afterwards you realize, oh yeah, I've got a camera in my hand. It's a 35mm lens or whatever it might be. And then I was taking video of you, Alex, remember, with the GoPro, and I was just like enjoying seeing you do that, because I know how it feels. Then you were like across the street finding subjects, whipping around, and it's like, hey, that's like me.
Yeah, I was that video's coming around. I just got to do the at home ranking portion of the Hexar RF. I got to put it on the list, and
Have
that's
you
it.
got a
The
Hexar
final portion.
RF as well now? Or are you
I
borrowing
didn't realize
one?
you had a green screen. That's pretty cool. I saw you.
Yeah,
post
the
a
green
story using
screen.
Green screen, yeah.
Here,
That's
yeah.
handy.
Let me see. Yeah, you can see it, right? So, yeah, man. Like, I get it. You know, like people get kind of jealous or wishful, and they want to go to a new location, new area, and they wish that that could spice things up for them. It can. You know, I'm not gonna lie.
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, me being here in Japan, having the aesthetic here that is very visually appealing and what have you. It's great. It's I try not to use it as a crutch. Like, oh, everybody's gonna like how this looks. So let me take a picture of that because people will like that. And I try to take the photos that I like, and I try to focus on that because that's going to keep me going. And if I get wrapped up in the likes and this and that, and should I make reels and all this kind of stuff, and then I'll likely burn out. I'll likely quit. So yeah, making these kind of projects.
But what you're just talking about now is more like it's artistic maturity. You know what I mean? It's like I know what I like. I know what I want to shoot. And when I look at things like that, and I was watching something the other day again, like Elliot Erwitt, he didn't give a crap about what he was shooting. You know what I mean? Those all the greats. Did Vivian Maier care that she was shooting self-portraits in reflections? No,
she actually oppositely cared.
That's what I mean.
She did
none
not want
of them
anyone
care.
to see the photos.
You know what I mean? Like that's what they would like to shoot. Exactly with Fred Herzog, which one of his books I absolutely love. He just wanted to shoot that topograph, whatever that the whole Vancouver. Everything he shot was just him documenting the city. That's just what he wanted to shoot. Some, people would call it banal and boring and stuff, but now you look back and it's this amazing body of work. It's one of my favorite books I've got up there. They were, the most famous photographers weren't chasing clout. They were just shooting what they wanted to shoot or documenting what they wanted to do and having fun. And then the passion was there, obviously. And then, the quality of work followed, not to mention, them being skilled. But again, you know what I mean? It's not shooting for anyone else. It's just I'm shooting what I want to shoot, or I'm focusing on my projects or whatever. It's, self-satisfaction and self-enjoyment, and then the rest will come, I think.
For sure, yeah. Elliot Erwitt's such a good example because he did podcasts and interviews and talking about the photography like we did, but he didn't like to do too much of it. He didn't like the idea of talking about photography or his work as a primary expression. The primary expression has to be the work itself. And I think that's what it is. Because if you get stuck on the whole social media game, you're in a trap again.
Big time.
Yeah. Outside of the box of the actual creation. Like Saul Leiter, he has his color work and he has his black and white work. There was consistency across it, but you can tell he was passionate about this certain style of photography that he did for his own sake, first and foremost.
Yeah, the color abstract that, you know, we've all seen those famous photos, and
Yeah.
the, you know, the mist of the dewdrops on the window. That's one of his famous ones. You know what I mean? You can
Can I
tell
ask you
that's
guys?
yeah.
Can I ask you guys now?
No, you can't. No, you can't ask me anything.
What is the most enjoying day of photography you've ever had? One day. And then, you know, so that people have an example of like, well, this was our peak, you know, and that maybe other people can kind of chase that kind of peak. You know what I mean? Can I start?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
yeah, please.
All
'Cause
right.
I'm trying
For
to think. I've
example,
got so many examples.
I've got one, but yeah, go. No, I'm yeah.
for example, my probably one of the best days of photography in general for me, street photography in general, was my day that I did in Coney Island in New York. And that was great because I I was coming off of this kind of downer about being in the COVID era in Japan, still like stuck in the COVID era in Japan with everybody wearing masks and being kind of closed off socially. And I was able to go to New York and have this very social day, you know, that kind of like checked all the boxes for me. Having great conversations, people dancing, blowing through rolls of film, even messing up half a roll and having to go into a porta potty to try to save the roll because I stupidly, excitingly rewound the roll backwards into my camera. I was like trying to rewind it. And, you know, it even has the arrow for the rewind knob, but I rewound it for some reason for the first time in my life using that camera. I'm
Having
going to
too much
rewind it
fun.
Yeah.
back. Yeah, exactly. I was like, So I had to go to a porta potty and I had to try to save this roll out of my camera because it got jammed in there. And even that like horrible experience of like losing half a roll, it didn't kill the day. It was great. I was still able to blow through like 5 more rolls, meet a bunch of people. You know, I'm not going to name drop a bunch of people, but there's so many people in New York, and like I felt like everybody was there, and just great weather, and yeah, it's fantastic. Like for the soul, you know, for the work in the end, I was able to make a zine out of it, and so that was my best day, probably one of my best days ever. How about you guys? How
You
about
want to go,
Hash?
Hash? Or you want me to
Yeah,
go?
I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint a very specific one, but it's very much like what Alex just described in terms of all those factors coming together. Because I could have one example from, let's say, here in Melbourne from, you know, a few years ago, being out on the beach with a friend, just going out to shoot with no expectations, but the weather turned out beautiful. Everyone was out. There was all these like teenagers conglomerating at the jetty, you know, like the pier. And then just spontaneous things just started to happen. Kind of like Alex is saying, you start to run into people or something weird happened, or even if it's a mishap. Just those surprise elements, I think, is what makes it really enjoyable. Like on that day, a massive fight broke out. I don't know if you guys saw one of the photos I posted recently. There was a bunch of teenagers, you know, they were all drunk. It was like a bit of an anti-lockdown sentiment going on the beach there, and then this massive brawl like happened. And then my friend Damon and I, we were just like, holy shit. And we were just like starting to blast through rolls, like wishing we bought more film with us. And then even though a lot of the shots didn't necessarily turn out, it was that feeling of being there, trying to document it, getting maybe a few shots, and then the interactions that happened afterwards. We, you know, made jokes with some of the people and just stuff like that. You know, it doesn't have to be while traveling, but in saying that, yeah, that's one example. But a lot of my other examples are while I've been out traveling in a different country, just dedicating a whole session to going out and shooting street, not knowing what I'm going to run into, facing the unknown, and then those spontaneous things happening. I interact with someone, I run into something, this big thing like breaks out in front of me, and I'm like, holy shit, this is great. And you just get into that flow state and you just kind of lose track of time. And that's what it really is. And it could happen to you while you're doing a hike if you're a landscape photographer and getting the most perfect sunset, and then this deer pops out of a tree. I don't know, you know, something like that. What's yours, Cooper?
Mine. I mean, I've got.
Is it that day from the series?
I've got so many. Yeah, I mean, there's the portrait of
the airplane guy,
Matt, the airplane guy there, but because but it's just that whole day. So me and the boys, it was just the three of us, and my wife continued on to Albany for work, and we were heading back to Perth at the opposite direction, and she was going to be gone for a couple of days. But that morning, me and the boys got up, we left, we stumbled across. First, we found there's that photo of the bus that you guys, have you seen that? All the books inside
the Magic Book Bus. Yeah.
Magic Book Bus. Beautiful. Me and the boys found this junkyard, and we were exploring, and it was magic. Just me and my 3-year-old and 5-year-old, and they're in the bus with me, and we were exploring it, and I got that one amazing photo, just having fun. And then we had, we stopped the next town, Bridgetown. We were exploring, and we had a coffee, and then we found this guy's antique store on the outskirts of town. Randomly, me and the boys were mucking around in his front garden while me and this guy were chatting and having a lovely conversation about his service history. He's an ex-army vet, went to Afghanistan, was defusing the IEDs, like that movie, The Hurt Locker. Mm-hmm. Some wild stories, PTSD, lost a lot of friends, etc. But met this amazing human being, got an amazing portrait of this guy that's, part of this amazing, new body of work I'm doing. And I spent the day with my 2 kids as well, just us, and driving and shooting film. And it just so beautiful, such a beautiful day. And, the photography was like the byproduct of it. We were just driving home. I mean, I was looking for stuff to shoot because, I'm on part of that, section of the towns we were crossing through. It was all part of the catchment area anyway. But it became just such a nice day. And on the fridge, I've got a big print of the book bus. I mean, my 5-year-old's, Daddy, is that the Magic Book Bus? Daddy, remember the Magic Book Bus? And I'm just like, yeah. Because instantly that one photo teleports me and the 2 boys back to how much fun we were having together as a family, exploring, finding things, taking photos, having an adventure with Dad.
Yeah.
And it's something the whole boys can look back on. The boys see one photo, one print, and they just remember the adventure we had with Dad when we were a kid.
That's awesome. That's really good.
And that sort of thing reminds me why I love photography so much.
Yeah.
Because that one photo, on days it's like one photo that can bring back that kind of memories and nostalgia and feelings for the boys when they grow up. Just such a nice day we had together from one photo.
It doesn't matter how good someone else thinks it is.
Yeah,
because it's what it means
I don't
to
care.
You. Yeah,
I mean, I think that other photo is great. And
that's all that matters.
It's it's a cool photo. I mean, a bunch of people liked it online, but I couldn't care because it's not about these other people. It's just about the connection that me and the kids have with one photo, and that's what makes me. That's part of the reason why I get so much enjoyment out of photography still. Is days like we've all just spoken about. Days like this happen, and you get one photo. Sometimes you might get a bunch, but sometimes I just find it takes one simple photo to realize and make you realize again how much you love this crap and why spending money on cameras and film and developing is all worth it in the end.
Don't do it. Don't do it, guys. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
I don't know if it happens to you guys though, but on days like that, another thing that I start to realize is that it could be conditions that you would normally stray away from. Like, let's say, it could be really hot. Like, I've experienced this. The weather's shit, and there's flies, or you haven't eaten for hours, but that all just goes by the wayside. And then when you do finally have that food, the food tastes better, and everything just seems to become easier. And I know I keep bringing this up, but it's kind of like that, what people would describe as a flow state. So if you can find that, that's what you want. Everything else just rolls in from there.
Yeah, find it naturally. Don't take drugs.
The flow state there. Fuck drugs.
It's a natural drug, because that's the thing. People say they say it makes food taste better.
Except nicotine. Oh, I miss nicotine. Oh, God, I miss cigarettes. I tell you, God, that was a hell of a drug, nicotine. But anyway,
that's what I've heard.
But I've been in that flow state, Hash, where I've been walking for hours, and I forget that I'm hungry. But you get in that zone, you forget that you're thirsty, you forget that you're hungry. You're just locked in that frame of mind where everything is a composition. You know what I mean? And you just, I'm hunting, and you just, and you're just having so much fun. And then it's not until you finally stop and you kind of, maybe your body catches up with your mind and you're like, well, I'm pooped. like, man, I need to sit down now. Like, it just, well, what a productive session that was. Or you get back to, get on the public transport to go home, or get back to your car to drive home, and you just kind of go, wow, that was a good day. Wow.
Fulfillment.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
100%.
And it might just be, again, like one photo. You got one banger, one fire emoji, but it's just make the whole day worth it.
Well, this is an interesting thing for, I think, people listening. If you guys want to end on this, or let me know.
Good call.
Let's say someone, because we just sound like, oh yeah, we're having so much fun and we have this thing and we can go back to it and enjoy it. What about if someone is, say, like you mentioned, they live in a city and it's just become boring to them? Maybe even they live in Japan and it's like, I find my city boring, or like there's nothing to shoot. And I've heard this before. I've kind of felt this sometimes. Like I go out onto the streets of Melbourne, walk around for a few hours. I don't get a single photo sometimes, or I come back with nothing. How does someone, overcome that? Or do you overcome it? Do you just go out anyway with no expectations and just keep doing it? What's your solution? If you guys
buy a Holga.
Buy a Holga.
I'm serious. I have never shot with a Holga, Lomo style. When I become so unmotivated to shoot and I've just lost all whatever, I'm going to go and buy a Holga and do, crappy Holga, out of focus, abstract photography. You know what I mean? Like it's something different. I'm saving that as like a rainy, and like Alex said earlier, changing up the medium. You know what I mean?
Changing up the medium. Expectation.
Shooting with less expectation, or And again, I feel like, unfortunately, things like, you could be like, well, I want to shoot panoramas. Think something like that. That's really expensive to do, as we all know, to try and do that on film or whatever these days. But you know what I mean? Like you can, what have I seen people do before? Just mix up the medium to try and keep yourself
something outside the box.
What did someone do? Somebody 3D printed an insert to go inside the digital camera. So they 3D printed an insert that was sitting inside the digital camera, which was a panorama frame, so that the EVF and everything was blocked into a panorama, and all the photos they shot were, had a massive black square around it. You know what I mean? Things like that say, okay, you can force yourself to try and be creative. I've seen other people do it. Like they take a bit of Glad wrap and Vaseline, like put Glad wrap over the front of the lens and then smear it with Vaseline and try and get all anything you could do to try and, just change up the medium. Like you said to your friend, Alex, why don't you shoot film? Don't you just go and shoot a roll of black and white film, or something like that. Go and shoot a roll of film instead. I don't know, Hash, if someone's lost that kind of motivation with photography. I don't know if there's any tips I could give them to bring them back. Like, you know what I mean? Because I personally have never felt like that. I've never felt like I felt stale with it. And I'm like, I'll just go make myself shoot. And I'll go out for a shoot. And now I'll get nothing. I'll get crap. And, that's just happens sometimes. But I've never lost it.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. So much that, just more thinking that like my home area or whatever it is isn't good enough. So Alex, maybe you can answer this, but focusing in more on strategies that don't relate to just like what we've touched on already, the film camera or changing the gear or the lens, because that's kind of, we've covered that. Are there?
I would honestly go against the grain on what people would think that I would, say, or expect me to say. But I've said it before previously. Just don't go shoot. Don't force yourself. Like, if you're not feeling motivated, just stay home. It's okay. It's okay to just feel that way and then not, force yourself to go out and shoot and stuff. Because I think it's just kind of it's not productive. It's not very productive to push yourself out there if you don't really feel like it. I think you're just kind of spinning your wheels and wasting your time. Instead, just like stay home, maybe read a book, actually get your mind away from photography as much as possible.
Yeah, find some other hobby that you've been neglecting.
Just do something else, like
bike riding, whatever.
I have that sentiment
skateboarder I don't know.
With YouTube.
Yeah.
A lot. Sometimes I don't make a lot of YouTube videos because I feel like I'm forcing it, and I'm just like, you know what? No. I just go, you know what? I'm not going to make a video this week. Or it might be a couple of weeks when I'm me making a video because I just go, you know what? I'm not in the zone. I just don't feel like making anything. I don't feel like talking to the
story
camera.
of my life with you,
and I just don't do it. But again, I've not really found that with photography in all these years. I still kind of like, I won't go. I'll stay at home if I'm like, oh, I've got time, but I really don't feel like it. Oh no, I'm just gonna stay at home. But I've never lost that passion. But definitely with YouTube over the years, Hash, that's why you're the biggest film YouTuber in Australia. You've just like got the passion and the consistency, and you just commit to it. Whereas sometimes I'm just like, I just don't feel like making a video, or I feel like
I get that all the time, man.
Anything interesting to say. I'm not going to make a video, which is why I wanted to start doing the podcast so much, because I really enjoy this.
Yeah,
this sort of thing I really enjoy.
Yeah, because the YouTube like overlord telling you, come on, upload, and you're like,
upload,
and I'm like, no, but despite you, I'm gonna like not do a video this week.
I'm not gonna do a video this week, so jam it up your butt.
But definitely those strategies.
But I think
expectations.
You're right, Alex, but not putting the guilt or the not guilt tripping yourself. You know what I mean, for staying and going, I'm just gonna not do it today, and
Right.
Another thing I think could work, and again, trying to lean it more towards like, your city not being cool enough or something like that. Because it's sentiment. I do these workshops and meets, and that's something people say to me a lot, which is why I keep going back towards that. Everything we've already said so far, don't have your expectations too high that you're going to go out and get great photos. Don't force it. Go do something different. I've spoken about, motivation in some video in the past, and I think I touched on these things. Find like-minded people is another one. But also, if you can stack different facets of enjoyment, like let's say you enjoy street photography like us, all right, are you going to go out also to get some walking done? Is the weather good? Can you go listen to a podcast while you're walking the streets, or meet up with a friend and shoot together if you enjoy doing that? Or maybe you can run some errands and then keep a camera with you, whatever it might be. If you can habit stack, so to speak, I think that makes it a little bit easier to then not feel so bad that you didn't get shots, or just put yourself out there more so that when, something happens, like some spontaneous thing on the street, you're there for it. I think that can be a good strategy as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Go taste test French fries or chips at different places.
I wish.
Bring your camera.
I got 3.5
Just go on a ranking.
3.5 more weeks. I wish French fries. I've hard dieting before this.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have mentioned French fries. Whoops.
We don't even mention.
I'm making French fries for my family tonight. Tonight I'm cooking.
Pizza.
And
I got to go work. I got to work midnight shift at the airport, 6 till midnight.
It's the weekly Papa Donald's night.
Sounds good
instead
to
of
me.
McDonald's. It's Papa
Donald's.
Donald's.
Working with food actually when you're cutting.
No, because I'm sick of Subway.
Oh, that's true. Because it probably
But I'll pack my own dinner, like because I'm on the this meal plan. Like I've got chicken and pumpkin and shit. I've got crap. Nothing fun. Give me 3 weeks and then a tub of Ben and Jerry's. I'll be happy as a clam.
Yeah,
but anyway,
it's gonna be good.
Well, I think we'll call it a day for here. We'll finish on a nice, high, positive note. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to episode 3. We really appreciate, and I really appreciate the feedback in the comment section on YouTube. If you guys want to see anything different, things like that, please leave it there. And we know what to talk about next time, or I know to shut up next time and let the other boys talk instead. Things like that. So thank you very much for tuning in.
No, you did pretty good today, man.
I did. I know it on purpose. I did it on purpose. We'll leave it there, and we'll probably catch you guys in another 2 weeks, our bi-weekly podcast. So we'll probably catch you guys again in another week or two. Everybody, happy shooting. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you later.
Thanks for listening.